getting answers from all across Northern California. This is the CBS 13 News at 5.
California is one step away from becoming a sanctuary state. Late last night, after the state assembly approved Senate Bill 54 on a 50-25 vote, the state Senate cleared it 27-17, and now the bill is in the hands of Governor Brown. The bill would strictly limit how local and state police can interact with ICE. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sharon Roget. If Governor Brown signs the bill, it would be a move that sends a very clear message to Washington. CBS 13's Ed Crane has a reaction and more tonight. Ed?
Well, good afternoon, Sharon. This is a evening of celebration, if you will, for thousands of supporters of this bill. It's been a long time in coming. But for law enforcement, both locally and statewide, the reaction is decidedly mixed.
The bill that Governor Brown is expected to sign is significantly weaker than one first sent to his desk. Brown balked at backing a bill which would have prohibited federal law enforcement or immigration officers from setting foot in California jails or prisons. The watered-down version of SB 54 would prohibit state law enforcement from targeting individuals based on immigration status alone and would not allow the transfer of illegal immigrants to federal custody unless they're already convicted of one of 800 crimes now on the books. Former Sacramento County Sheriff John McGinnis.
What it does do is compromise law enforcement's ability to communicate with federal law enforcement for the purpose of exchanging information that's critical for compliance with the law. So there's a long list of crimes that have been added to the list of justifications for contact with ICE, but frankly it leaves a whole lot out of the equation.
The State Sheriff's Association opposes SB 54. The State Police Chiefs Association has taken a neutral stance.
Now, supporters tell us that this is going to be a wonderful bill for people who are facing deportation. It'll give them some bit of comfort. If, as expected, Governor Brown signs this bill, it will become law in California in January. Back to you.
All right, Ed, we'll have to see what happens. Thank you. And Sheriff Scott Jones also releasing this statement today, saying in part, as I have stated, since this bill was conceived, making California a sanctuary state will allow dangerous people to be released from jails to victimize others all over the state. And for the complete statement, we're going to have his full statement on our website, cbs13.com. Meanwhile, several Bay Area DACA recipients got some legal help today. This workshop, hosted by Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County, was organized to help people renew their DACA applications before the October 5th deadline. Now, while some who are eligible to renew can extend their work permits for 2 years, there's a new urgency to apply because of fears that President Trump could end the DACA program.
I hope it's just a political thing and it'll just blow over, but it does kind of worry me. It worries me because of DACA, I've been able to continue my education, to work, to be able to support my family, to have somewhat of a name, and not be scared of just being who I am.
One day after President Trump hosted Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Nancy Pelosi for dinner at the White House, the president said he could support legislation to protect the young immigrants known as Dreamers only if it were accompanied by a massive border security upgrade.
Racists go home!
To this tonight, protesters and counter-protesters converged at the Confederate Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond, Virginia today. Richmond has decided to reevaluate the statue following the violent and untimely deadly rally in Charlottesville late last month. Nikki Batista has the latest.
Racists go home!
Counter-demonstrators outnumbered members of the new Confederate States of America at a Heritage Not Hate rally in Richmond. The group is demanding Virginia state officials keep a statue honoring General Robert E. Lee.
Once a veteran, always a veteran, no matter what war they fought.
We are all under God. We need to defend all American history.
Others say the statue is a painful reminder of the past, and it's time for it to come down.
It's history, but it's awful history to me. That history reminds me and keep reminding everybody of how they wanted to keep us enslaved.
Virginia is an open carry state, and some protesters came armed, but the demonstration was mainly peaceful. Heavily armed police used barricades to keep the crowds from getting too close to the statue.
Whoop, whoop, Juggalos taking over D.C.
There were also dueling demonstrations in Washington, D.C. Members of the Juggalos took over one end of the National Mall. They are fans of the rock group Insane Clown Posse. At the other end, several hundred pro-Trump supporters gathered for what was billed as the mother of all rallies.
Just the way to come, support America, support our leader. You need to support and have faith in your leadership.
There was a large police presence, but there were no reports of violence.
Closer to home, family and friends will gather in Stockton tonight to celebrate the life of a high school football player tragically killed by a drunk driver. Cameron Allison, a senior at Lincoln High School, was on the way to a football game in Merced last night when the car he was riding in was sideswiped by a drunk driver on Pacific Avenue. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His team debated canceling the game altogether, but decided it must go on in honor of their fallen friend.
It's been hard. It's been rough. They're pulling it together for him. You see him looking up at the sky a lot.
The vigil will be held tonight at 8 o'clock on 4940 Pacific Avenue. There will also be a car wash tomorrow from 10 to 2 p.m. at Lincoln High School, with all proceeds going to Allison's family. The driver of the car that Allison was riding in was taken to the hospital. The alleged drunk driver, 31-year-old Anthony Calderon, will appear in court September 19th. Also in Stockton, police are investigating a fatal accident overnight, a shooting rather, in the 2300 block of Hackberry Street. Just after 1 this morning, officers found a 60-year-old man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to a local hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries. 2 men are in the hospital after an overnight stabbing in Midtown Sacramento. Police found the victims at Q and 21st Streets around 1 o'clock this morning. Investigators say the incident stemmed from an argument at a nearby bar over a woman. The suspect was kicked out of that bar, but later tracked down the victims and attacked them with a knife. Both sustained serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect remains at large. The man who suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns while being arrested in Citrus Heights is now out of jail. James Bradford Nelson was released from Sacramento County Jail last night after being charged with a parole violation. Nelson suffered severe burns to his body when Citrus Heights officers pinned him against hot pavement to restrain him. The district attorney says there was sufficient evidence for police to make that arrest. Well, what began as peaceful protests in St. Louis got out of hand Friday evening. Demonstrators, angry over the acquittal of a white police officer and the shooting death of a black man, took to the streets. We want to take you live to St. Louis right now, where crowds are gathered, still lining the streets there. You can see a massive crowd right now gathering, pretty upset over the acquittal of this officer. Chris Martinez has more from Los Angeles.
Late-night demonstrations in St. Louis grew unruly Friday night, with tear gas canisters and vandalism at the mayor's home. Protesters broke windows and threw red paint on Mayor Lyda Crewson's house. Police were finally able to push them back. Earlier, the crowd burned American flags. Demonstrators are angry over the acquittal of a white police officer in the 2011 shooting death of a black man.
I believe Black Lives Matter, but obviously our justice system does not believe that.
Multiple cameras caught the high-speed chase and collision involving former St. Louis patrolman Jason Stockley and suspected drug dealer Lamar Smith. Stockley says he shot Smith in self-defense, claiming Smith was pulling a gun on him. But prosecutors say Stockley got a gun from the back seat of his cruiser and planted it in Smith's car after shooting him. The judge said he was not convinced of Stockley's guilt.
At the end of the day, the court applied the right standards and to the facts, and they came up with the right conclusion.
Protesters disagree, and some say they'll keep at it until their voices are heard.
Time and time again, we've called for justice, we've called for peace, we've called for, reform, and every time we have been, we've been disregarded.
At least 2 police officers were treated for injuries after being hit by bricks Friday night.
And because of this, rock band U2 announced they've canceled tonight's performance in St. Louis. In a statement released today, the Irish rock band, along with Live Nation, said, quote, "We have been informed by the St. Louis Police Department that they are not in a position to provide the standard protection for our audience as would be expected for an event of this size. In light of this information, we cannot, in good conscience, risk our fans' safety by proceeding with tonight's concert. Fans will receive a full refund." To London now, where an 18-year-old man has been arrested in connection with Friday's subway bombing. Officers carried out a counter-terror operation in Surrey, searching a home in the suburbs and evacuating neighbors as a precaution. Meanwhile, the British Home Secretary met with the nation's Cobra Crisis Committee in its second meeting in 2 days after police announced a significant arrest of an 18-year-old suspect. Officials now say at least 30 people were wounded when an improvised explosive went off in a crowded commuter train at the Parsons Green station. Although ISIS has claimed responsibility, this attack differs from other attacks in the past.
There are some odd aspects to this case. We've not seen a bucket before. It's a fairly crude device in a bag, left. In recent times, attacks of this nature have been suicide bombers using backpacks.
Britain's terror threat remains at critical, which is the highest level. Despite stronger sanctions, North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un promises to complete his nuclear program. On Thursday, the North launched a ballistic missile over Japan, flying farther than any previous missile and putting the U.S. territory of Guam within reach. This comes just days before President Trump is set to make his first speech to the UN, featuring warnings against the rogue regime as well as assurances to American allies. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster said Friday the time to address the global threat is running out.
North Korea remains one of the world's most urgent and dangerous security problems. We've been kicking the can down the road, and we're out of road.
Another topic that may be up for discussion, the U.S. commitment to the Iran nuclear deal. President Trump had previously called the agreement the worst deal ever. Ahead here on your news at 5, it's an all-day action-packed celebration as professional UFC fighter Uriah Faber held a special grand opening today. We're going to take you there. Plus, talented artists taking parking spots and turning them into mini parks. The artwork that drew crowds. Lisa.
We have a very cool weather system that'll be moving into Northern California. Dare I say some high elevation snow? Can't be ruled out. I'll break it all down for you coming up right after this.
Harry Dean Stanton, the longtime character actor whose face had its own unique character, has died. He passed away Friday at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Stanton appeared in more than 100 films and 50 television shows, including the films Alien and Repo Man. He was 91 years old.
It's a new level. I mean, the sport's growing and our team's growing. It's kind of, if you build it, they will come.
The California kid may have fought MMA as a lightweight, but he's a heavyweight entrepreneur. Yes, today marks the grand opening of Uriah Faber's new Ultimate Fitness facility in East Sacramento. As CBS 13's Elisa Becerra shows us, it's a project the former UFC fighter takes great pride in.
Yeah, this is the new level. I mean, the sport's growing and our team's growing. It's kind of, if you build it, they will come.
This is the house that Uriah Faber built. It's a 20,000 square foot new fitness facility located in East Sacramento. It boasts bags, free weights, a cage, instructors, and trainers.
The whole back side of the gym, the largest part of the gym, is just a functional fitness. We do CrossFit, we do yoga, we do TRX, and all sorts of cool classes that are just about having fun.
The celebrated UFC fighter went from his final bout to his booming business. Here, those wanting to work out learn mixed martial arts, boxing, self-defense, yoga, and beyond. Not to mention, it's a beacon of hope for aspiring talent.
We've got guys from all over the globe that come to be part of mixed martial arts and train to be champions right here in Sacramento, so I take a lot of pride in that.
Something not lost on those who come here to work out.
Seriously, and surprising for them to be such tough guys, they're really sweethearts. They're so willing to help us. Anytime we have any questions, we want to say hi, the kids take pictures with them.
For people like Brian Alon's, first-hand exposure to professional fighters, especially Faber, make it the ultimate place to be.
I really am because I want to be like him.
Faber has long been touted with boosting MMA and putting Sacramento on the map as a hub, but this charismatic fighter wanted to make sure his facility is family-friendly, a goal those who come here say he has achieved.
You come here and you feel like you're at home for a change. You know, you go to most gyms, they kind of look at you strange, but here, there's always a smile, always somebody willing to help you, a place where I can bring my kids.
I bet that's going to be a tough workout, though. Faber's final fight was last year. His career spanned 13 years. Well, tomorrow, the best in television will be honored at the Primetime Emmy Awards. Late Show host Stephen Colbert is hosting the ceremony. The CBS star is also up for 6 Emmys for his talk show and his 2016 election night special.
You have to talk about Donald Trump on a certain level because this night is celebrating television, and everybody knows that the biggest television star of the year was Donald Trump, bar none. Why he's not nominated, I do not know.
And CBS's The Late Late Show with James Corden and The Amazing Race also received nods. HBO and Netflix received the most nominations. And you can watch the Emmy Awards right here on CBS 13. Starts tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Always a fun show to watch. And a lot of times we just want to see what people are wearing, right, Lisa?
Right, and I think Colbert will be a good host, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a very good run this year.
Yeah, it'll be great. And we wish them all the best. All right, let's turn our attention to the forecast. And what are we expecting?
Big changes, Sharon.
Okay, good.
Much cooler temperatures. If you're a fan of fall, then you're going to be a fan of this forecast. Absolutely. Let's go and take a live look outside. This is our Mount Diablo sky cam looking out across Northern California, where we are seeing some sun out there. So that's what we're going to be seeing when it comes to. Here we go. There you go. Looking at mostly sunny skies, I would say for the most part. There's a little bit of cloud cover thrown in there, but there's also some sunshine as well. We're waiting for our next weather system to push through, and like I said before the break, it brings us the potential of some high elevation snow. So we are really starting to see a change up when it comes to the weather patterns, and it's that time of year, so that's good. We'll take it, right? Let's look across Northern California right now. We do have a little bit of cloud cover in place. Most of this is across the San Joaquin Valley here, looking much further to the north, noticing a little bit of rain. That's where we're going to keep those rain chances as we go throughout the weekend. Zooming in a little bit closer, like I said, a lot of the cloud cover just to the south of Sacramento. All right, so I got to mention it. I know a lot of us were sick of talking about these hurricanes. I completely agree with you on that, but we do have Jose. This is Category 1 hurricane. Jose is forecast to be downgraded to a tropical storm, but as it does so, because right now it's moving north, it does look like we might see an impact when it comes to the East Coast. So if you know anyone on the East Coast, hopefully they're aware, and we'll just continue to track that particular weather system. But back here at home, not too bad. 85 degrees in Sacramento, we'll take that. 82 in Fairfield, 69 in San Francisco. Heading into the foothills, we're in the upper 70s for Auburn, and then just about the mid 60s as you make your way into the high country. South Lake Tahoe coming in at 64 degrees. Winds are coming through the delta. We're at about 15 miles per hour here, just about 5 to 10 up and down the valley, so not too much really going on there. When it comes to the valley forecast, here's what you can expect as we head into tonight. This is pretty comfortable, I would say. Low temperatures around 60 degrees. When it comes to the high temps tomorrow, we'll take you right back to about the mid and upper 80s. When it comes to Sacramento, anticipating a low of 58. And then we'll take you back to 86. Most of these locations looking at temperatures just into the mid 80s. And this is the start of the cooling. When you see that 7-day forecast, you're going to be like, wow, we are really going to be seeing some cooler temperatures. Foothill forecast for Jackson, you're back up to 84, just about 80 degrees when it comes to Georgetown. Low temperatures pretty much in the mid and upper 50s. As we take you up to the Sierra, those temperatures tonight just around 40 degrees. And then we'll take your highs just back to the 70s. So for South Lake Tahoe, low temperature coming in at 35, back up to 69 when it comes to your high. Headed out to the Bay Area, no complaints here either. Not seeing any fog, not even seeing any rain in the forecast for San Jose. Anticipating a high temp coming in just at 80 when it comes to San Francisco. 56 is your low, back up to 68 degrees. And as we make our way to Fort Bragg, noticing no fog in this location either. 51 for your low, back up to 59. So what about the 7-day forecast? We're talking some cooler temperatures. Let's roll it out. Check this out. Low temperatures in the 50s, high temps only into the lower 80s here. Now, as we watch Wednesday through Friday, that's when we have the potential of seeing some precipitation in the Sierra. Higher elevations, like I said, it'd be very light high elevation snow, but it would be the first snow. So not really too surprised either, because look at these high temperatures for the valley, even a 70 on the board here. So we are looking at quite a bit of a cool down here.
Yeah, 80s are pretty good though.
Yeah.
You know, as we inch our way to fall. All right, Lisa, thanks. Coming up, parking spaces transformed. We're going to have to show you how these artists are creating mini parks in Sacramento with hopes of bringing some of this artwork to life permanently. And the Great American River Cleanup, how the annual event is making the area safer for future tourists. Well, this is pretty cool. Parking spots were turned into miniature parks for Parking Day today. CBS 13's Camby Brown with how the event is a way to highlight some talented artists you may not usually see.
To show that Sacramento is a creative capital.
Coming off the success of Wide Open Walls, this parking space was transformed by architectural designer Tim Ross.
One of our ideas was to kind of have this folded mural kind of in our parklet.
It's the 4th year of Parking Day, when parking spaces are transformed for the day.
It's a way to reclaim the street for the people and, you know, just have these little mini parks.
The hope is to make some of these parks permanent, eventually, something the city of Sacramento is on board with.
The city has recognized the need for more pedestrian-friendly urban space, and they're allowing for up to 10 parking stalls downtown to be turned into parklets.
For now, the community is enjoying these parks in places usually reserved for their cars.
Architecture firms, landscaping artists, and creative citizens are some of the people who came together to make Parking Day a success. Meanwhile, volunteers turned out along the American River Parkway for the Great American River Cleanup. The annual event has participants cleaning up the entire span of the parkway to make the area safer and cleaner for future visitors.
We've got 22 locations up and down the entire American River Parkway, 2,000 volunteers out. What does that tell you? How important the parkway is to this community? They're not only picking up trash, they're picking up abandoned homeless camps.
Last year, more than 1,600 volunteers removed over 30,000 pounds of trash along sites along the parkway. More than 2,800 volunteers spent their Saturday morning completing nearly 50 service projects around the city of Folsom for the 4th annual Community Service Day. The projects included landscaping and stuffing a bus full of food for the homeless. About 28,000 bags were handed out earlier in the week for residents to fill.
What we did with this new thing last year and what we're doing with this year, we raised enough food to feed all the needy 7 days a week, and we're hoping to repeat that this year.
That's amazing. The event's goal was to complete projects throughout the city that would make a lasting and positive impact. Kudos to Folsom. Still to come, more than 1,000 robots are strutting their stuff this weekend. Where in the world these high-tech bots were competing? You don't want to miss it. Finally at 5, more than 1,000 robots are strutting their stuff this weekend at the National Robot Competition in China. Take a look. Lisa, how cool is this? Take a look at this. The high-tech event featured all types of different innovative robots, including a new robot wheelchair that's controlled by the user's brain waves and head movement. Nearly 500 teams are taking part in this 2-day event. Pretty cool stuff. Thanks for joining us here at 5. We'll hope to see you back at 10 o'clock. Until then, have a great night.